Hi, welcome to HowtoDandD. My name is Fred Wheeler and today I want to talk about Dungeons & Dragons 5e, and today is a mini combat tutorial for the Bard. Now this Bard will only be level 1. For those of you who are hoping to see something at higher levels, we just don't have that much time, so hence I've decided to only go with level 1. Level 1 in itself has got a lot of material to cover, so we will have to break things up as we go. So we're going to talk about the Bard. Now, one of the things about the Bard is that it's essentially one of the classes that I consider quite complicated and has a lot of options available to them, because they are a mixture of spellcaster who's versatile, can dabble in just about everything under the sun. They're also very, very good with skills. They can make other people good at doing stuff, and they cast spells, and they use weapons. So there's an awful lot that a Bard can do when combat takes place, or even if there's no combat whatsoever. Hence, I have to say, I hate to say it, but yeah, Bards are very, very powerful, even though I don't particularly like playing them myself. But that's beside the point. So the character sheet that I'm showing you right now is for a half-elf Bard, level 1. You can download or check out this particular character sheet on the Dungeons & Dragons Wizards of the Coast official web page. I will include the link to this particular pre-made character sheet in the description. So if you're wanting to have a look at the numbers and how it's laid out, it will provide you this character and the same character leveled up from level 1 right through to 10 if you need it at some point. So a few things to sort of get our head around. This particular Bard is an entertainer, quite popular, has a, you can select factions, that's up to you. I'm not going to worry too much about the personality, ideals, bonds and flaws stuff. You do have the benefit of having dark vision, so if you're in a dark location, it's going to make it a lot easier for you to see, so you won't have to bring a light source along with you. There are benefits to having a light source even with dark vision though. And then it has spellcasting abilities. Now the spellcasting save DC for this particular character is 13. So anything when I start talking about a saving DC, the DC is 13 for whatever creature is trying to avoid the effect of the spell that this Bard is casting. Its spell attack modifier is a +5. We get 2 spell slots at level 1. We get Bardic Inspiration, which is very versatile. I don't want to go over all the aspects to it, but essentially, as a bonus action on your turn, you can choose one creature within 60 feet. As long as they can hear you, you can give them a 6-sided dice, inspiration dice. It has to be used within 10 minutes during game time, and it allows them to roll a dice and add it to any dice roll that is a 20-sided dice that involves an ability check, skill check, an attack roll, or a saving throw, and that includes death saving throws. So it's really, really useful. You can use this 3 times before you need to take a long rest and regain them all. The types of spells that this particular character can use are cantrips are Minor Illusion and Vicious Mockery. I'm not going to talk about anything else, just going to cover probably Vicious Mockery. Minor Illusion's lots of fun, but just isn't the time. First level spells, Charm Person, Fairy Fire, and Healing Word. Healing Word being incredibly powerful, Fairy Fire being hugely useful as well. But we'll cover that in a second. So, now that we've sort of covered the basics, we also have access to a rapier and a hand crossbow. So let's open up to our battle scene, or should I say our map for today. So this is the Woeful Wench. This is a tavern located somewhere in the Forgotten Realms, I suspect. And our little adventurer over here, the Bard, I'm going to call this particular character Shakespeare, or I might just call him Bard, who knows. Thus, sitting at a tavern bench and or counter, drinking, and about to sort of enjoy a nice ale. And right beside this particular Bard is sitting what looks like sort of one of the local patrons. He's just sitting down there, you know, got a beard on him. Don't just ignore the knife in his in the miniature's hand, forget about that. And they're being served by our bartender here. And the bartender, hands out their drinks. They pay for their drinks, and then says, "Look, excuse me, I've just got to go around the back and do some business. I've got to bring some more stock, and I'll be back in a second." So our bartender then leaves. As soon as our bartender leaves, this particular individual here moves over and says, after drawing out very, very quickly and quietly a dagger and just pushing it into the side of our bard, and says, "Be very quiet, lean over the counter, pick up the money box, open it and empty the contents, please. Hand over all your coins." So there's our opening for our particular event for today. Our bard thinks, well, this is a little bit strange, turns to him and says, "You don't want to do this, fella. It's not worth it. That bartender's going to be coming back in a second, and my friends are in the other room, and all I have to do is shout out, and you won't be able to get away with this." Now, this is an opportunity. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to open up, instead of going straight into spells and using a weapon, I'm trying to use one of my skills, and that is Persuasion. Now, normally you would get to roll a 20-sided dice and then add your whatever skill you're using. In this case, I'm using Persuasion, which is +5 for our bard. Now, I would normally roll a dice, and whatever I rolled on the dice, which I rolled at 11, I would add the 5 to that. And so 11 plus 5 equals 16. But I'm not going to do this in this case, because this particular individual, our thief, has already worked out the logistics of this situation. And instead of having to make a roll and choose that to do that, my particular event here is going to basically say it's not going to be doable, because this is what the thief's response is going to be, no matter what you would roll on a dice. Now, this is one of the things you shouldn't be discouraged from attempting to use deception, persuasion, and some of your other skills in combat or just before combat. But not every single NPC is going to respond just because you rolled really well on a dice. The response from the thief is, "I know the risks, I know where your friends are, and I know where the bartender is, and I'm not alone." So that's the response. And he jabs the dagger a little bit deeper into our bard Shakespeare. So things are getting a little bit heated. We're not quite into a combat. So our bard then responds with, "Look, you smelly git, you're no match for me." And the player says, "I want to cast Vicious Mockery," which is a cantrip, on the thief. This is where I'm going to start rolling dice for initiative. Okay, so I'm going to start off, as I usually do, I'm going to roll off starting with a monster. 20-sided dice. I'm rolling a 20-sided dice here for the thief. I'm just going to call it Bandit. How's that sound? So I'll write Bandit. If I can get it to come out not lopsided. There we go, Bandit. And our Bandit rolled a 10, for those of you who can't tell. I now add my dexterity modifier for my initiative, which is a +1 for the Bandit. So 10 plus 1 equals 11. So that is our initiative. There we go, 11. Next, we're going to roll initiative for the Bard. So grab a 20-sided dice, roll it. I get a 13, which is a lot higher, and I'm going to add my dexterity modifier, which is a +3. So 13 plus 3 is 16. So the Bard is going to be at the top. Bard. This has kind of worked out quite nicely for me, for those of you who haven't figured out what's going on here. There we go. Awesome. So the Bard will be going first, and the Bandit will be going next. Kind of convenient considering how things worked out. So for the sake of keeping things simple, we'll use our box as normal to indicate how many hit points each character has. Right, so our Bandit has 11 hit points, and our Bard has 10 hit points. So they're pretty much the same. They're not exactly different. So that's quite good considering the situation. Okay, so we start off at the top. Now the Bard said, "I want to cast Vicious Mockery." Now Vicious Mockery is one of those spells that is a cantrip. It is an action to cast. It has a range of 60 feet, and you basically just unload with a series of insults that your enemy must be able to hear. And what it requires is for the the bandit to make a wisdom saving throw with a DC of 13. That means that they need to make a wisdom saving throw, get either 13 or greater to be successful. Otherwise, the spell is going to affect them in a bad way. So I get my 20-sided dice for the bandit. I make my wisdom saving throw, roll my 20-sided dice. I got a 14, and I add my wisdom modifier for this saving throw. And unfortunately, the wisdom on our bandit's not that great. It's only a 0. So 14 plus 0 is 14. 14 is still greater than or equal to the DC of 13 required for the spell that this bard is casting. So the spell is not effective. Now, if it had been effective and it had gotten a lot lower, then it would have been subjected to 1d4 psychic damage. So it would have suffered a 4-sided dice worth of psychic damage, and the bandit, if it had been had failed, would have also wound up with disadvantage on their attack until the bard's next turn. So that's really quite helpful. It's certainly really useful if you don't want somebody to hit you, which is why vicious mockery is often used by bards all the time. So we've done the bard's turn. He's not going to do very much other than draw out his rapier at this point, since his insults didn't work. It's now on to the bandit. So the bandit at this point is going to drop the dagger and draw out a scimitar. The scimitar is like a curved blade, and we're going to make an attack. So roll your 20-sided dice. I got an 11. I'm going to add the attack modifier, which is a +3 for the bandit. So that comes to a grand total of 11 plus 3 is 14. 14, it needs to be equal to or greater than the armor class of the bard. Now the armor class of the bard was 15, so that's too low. So the scimitar doesn't hit. But the bandit does get out of his chair and move around. He can move around to here. Now the rationale for this is going to be completely clear later on, but for now that's what's taking place. Alright, so that's the bandit's turn. And he says, hurry up, get in here. And now we're back to our bard. Now our bard, realizing that things aren't working out quite the way he had expected, Shakespeare is in a bit of trouble, what he's going to do is going to follow up and use some different spells to make things a little bit more interesting given the situation. What he's going to do is going to yell out and say, hey, I need help. And hopefully that will call the bartender into the room and alert his friends so that they come into the room as well. But for now, what he's going to do is he's going to turn around. I have access to a number of spells, and in this situation, Charm Person, Fairy Fire, and Healing Word, probably not the best spells. Fairy Fire is fine. You can certainly use the spell, but it works better if there's a whole lot of people around. What we'll do for this particular opening, we're going to use the rapier. So he's going to draw out his rapier and make an attack. So I grab a 20-sided dice. I got a 16, and I add the attack modifier for my rapier for the bard, which is a 5. So that's a 21. 16 plus 5 is 21 to hit. Now the armor class of the bandit is only 12, so that's equal to or greater than. So I get to do some damage now. So our rapier does a grand total of an 8-sided dice plus 3 piercing damage. So roll your dice. I rolled a 3, and I add 3 for piercing, and that's a total of 6. So the bandit now takes 6 damage, which is kind of helpful because we needed that to happen at some point. So we'll just rub that out. That's 6. So now down to 5 hit points. So he's been injured. Okay, so the bard can now move out of the chair, not generating an attack of opportunity or opportunity attacks because it hasn't moved out of the line of fire. He's going to move around though a little bit, just to get himself out of the position he's made for himself. He knows his friends are over here in this room, so hopefully they will come very shortly. Okay, it's now down to the bandit. So suddenly coming through the door is another bandit who opens the door and closes it and puts his weight against it and says, have you got the money yet? This bandit here is going to continue to make attacks. He says no. He's putting up a fight. Okay. So we're going to move on to making an attack again with our scimitar. So roll a 20-sided dice. I rolled a 2 plus the attack modifier for our bandit, and that is a +3. So 2 plus 3 is only 5. It's certainly not enough to get equal to or greater than 15 for the armor class of the bard, so it's going to miss. Things aren't going too well for this particular bandit, unfortunately. But he will maneuver himself over to here. Still not provoking any types of opportunity attacks or an attack of opportunity, for those of you who are wondering. Okay, so we've got to that point. This character here has done all he can. He's opened the door, he's closed the door, and he's spoken, and he's moved a bit. He can continue to move a little bit more if he wanted to. All right, so we're now going to go down to here, and I'm going to mark this down because there's a new group entering combat. Now you can roll initiative if you want for new entries to combat, which you would normally do, but for the sake of my sanity, I'm just going to put party down here. This is for the party who are entering combat, and I'm using the same initiative for both of these bandits. Okay, there we go. So here's the party. I'm not giving them an initiative score, they are simply at the bottom of the initiative now. So they come through, opens the door and moves out. And we'll do the same thing, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. Now the wizard had opened the door, so the barbarian was able to move a lot further forward. And then we'll go 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. And that will do there. And then 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 25, sorry. Move slower, remember? 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. And we'll do the same with our dwarf. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. Okay, so the battle has gotten a lot more complicated than it was before. And at this point, our bartender shows up, realizes what's going on, decides to go back in the other room. Okay, so that's what the party's been able to do. They haven't done any attacks. All they've done is move into position. This has changed the view for the bandit, okay? Things are going to happen. So the bard now has some options. What I'm going to have our bard do is cast what's called Fairy Fire. Now Fairy Fire is a first level spell. It is an action to cast the spell. It has a range of 60 feet. You can create the effect that in a cube of 20 feet by 20 feet. Anything in that area is affected. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to plaster it in such a way that it just gets this particular individual, just the bandit. Now it works good with a group of individuals, but I've only got one to sort of focus on for now. So a dexterity saving throw is required by the bandit to avoid the effects of the spell. Roll a 20-sided dice. I rolled a 1, and then the dex modifier, which is 1. Unfortunately, that's going to come to a grand total of 1 plus 1 is 2. 2 is certainly not equal to or greater than the DC of 13 required for the bard. So unfortunately, he fails. That means he is now covered in sparkly stuff. Essentially what this does means is that anybody who targets this bandit here has advantage on their attacks. If that particular character, the bandit, was invisible, they would now be visible or outlined. So really helpful as a spell to use because getting advantage on the target is super useful. Okay, that's the first spell that I've unloaded. Now I can decide to move or do something else if I want to. And what I'm going to do is, instead of just staying put, he's going to yell an insult at the bandit and say, "You're in trouble now, my buddies are here." And he's going to use Bardic Inspiration, which is a bonus action. I've already used an action, but I have a bonus action as well. I'm going to use a D6. I get to give this D6 to anybody in my party who I think will be super useful. And I'm going to give it to the barbarian. Because if the barbarian manages to roll really well, there's a chance of adding that to an attack roll or a saving throw or an ability check. And I want that barbarian to, because he's in the perfect spot to do a lot of damage. And I'm going to move. Now that's going to provoke an attack of opportunity or opportunity attack. I'm going to go 5. So I'm going to have the bandit make that attack anyway. So he rolled a 2, plus his pathetic +3 for his scimitar. So that's 2 plus 3 is 5. It's not enough to hit the bard. So the bard manages to get out of trouble. And that's 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. Okay, so that is essentially how this situation's unrolled. We're going to move right down again here. We're going to have our bandit decide it's time to bug out. So this one goes, opens the door and leaves. And this one is just going to run. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. Now, there's our situation. Now, I didn't go over every single spell that this particular character has because there's so many different options available. Healing Word is really useful for those of you who are unaware. It allows you to, you can make an attack as an action and use your bonus action to heal somebody. So if the battle had gone really badly, it's like there had been more enemies in the room, such as a couple more fighting, and our barbarian had gone down, then this particular character, the bard, Shakespeare, could have used Healing Word, which is a first level spell. It is a bonus action to cast it. It has a range of 60 feet, and our barbarian is within 60 feet. And all you do, you don't have to do anything else rather than just roll a 4-sided dice and add your spell casting modifier for that character. So I rolled a 4 on the 4-sided dice, which is super useful. If this character's down to 0 hit points, I don't have to touch them. I can just do it from range so that they can get healed. And they regain hit points equal to a 4-sided dice plus your spell casting modifier. So that's 4 plus 3 for the spell casting modifier of the bard. So that's 4 plus 3 is 7. And so now the barbarian doesn't get up straight away until it's his turn. But it's super useful if you wanted to use it, because you still get to make another attack, use your action to make an attack. So you're casting a spell and you're attacking. So super useful. Fairy Fire, I've shown you that. I've shown you Vicious Mockery. I've shown you how to utilize, how Bardic Inspiration can be utilized. Look, if a spell had not been cast on the barbarian and you had to make some sort of saving throw, like a death saving throw, you can actually add this to the saving throw, because remember, you can add it to an attack roll, a saving throw, ability checks, and skill checks are included in that. So I get to roll all of those when I have to make a death saving throw for the barbarian. Okay, that makes it a lot easier to get the required number so you don't have quite so many failures. Although in this case I rolled a 6 and then I get to add the 1, so that only comes to a grand total of 7. Wouldn't have been enough to get in a success, but it's still useful. Okay, so that's the basics for the bard. We've done some attacking, we've cast some spells, we've tried to use some skills, and yeah, that's really all I have for you for today. But that doesn't mean that you can't ask questions and we can't go into a few more details if you want me to. So if you found this useful or informative or even entertaining in some way, please share and like the video. If you like this sort of thing, I do this about once a week, so consider subscribing, hitting the bell button so that you are notified when I'm doing this again. If you want to support my channel, you supported my channel by watching this video, and I really do appreciate it. Thank you very much. You will continue to support me by watching more of my videos, and I have hundreds of them, and there are more videos on combat tutorials if you want them. I don't do Patreon, but down in the description you'll find affiliate links to the book depository and Amazon where you can buy stuff online. I get a small commission. You pay exactly the same price. Just go through the link, buy what you want. You don't have to buy the thing I've linked to. This is your time in the live chat to start giving me feedback, asking questions, or just saying hi. And if you're not part of the live stream, that's what the comments section's for. So you can still give your feedback in the comments section if you're not part of the live stream. And hey, till next time, keep rolling those 20s.